Yes, it is 53 years of Uganda. And on 11th October, Drake Sekeba will be doing that program, Okuchala Kwa Papa, here on WBS TV. Don't miss. Charles Romshana, I've listened to my friend Baguma, and I can tell you I've now learned to know when Baguma does not want to answer and what will happen when he doesn't want to answer. Charles, looking at that industry base, of course, I've never been shy to also say that the British never left us like Kenya. Kenya was left at a stage where it could, because it was a settler colony. Therefore, the British had shambas of coffee. They had industries in Kenya. They barely had things here. And of course, Pulkol has said this was a private sector owned country, as at the time it wasn't really. But what became of us? What became of the proud country that had Nightingale, that had rayon textile? When I grew up in the whole of Kawempe and the whole of Kampala, people put on, we called it ginger. I don't know what that cotton material was. You wouldn't find any now. Why did the people stop growing cotton, coffee, and all those?
If you check Kenya, most of their towns, the urban centers, are around factories.
True.
They are around factories, they are around industries. But if you check the Ugandan urban centers, they are around consumption.
A lot of trading centers in Buganda had a coffee hala. Is it called a hala? The one that dehusks coffee. And a lot of those towns were built around a tin mabati. You know, the Indians would put up a mabati store and they would...
Where was I?
So, there you are. We had a bit of industry as well.
I have not said all, said most. So if you check most Kenyan urban centers, not all, most Kenyan urban centers, they are around production. Industries, factories. Of course, there are others that are around consumption, but consumption of their products. Then if you check the Ugandan urban centers, they are around consumption. The trading centers, and if you check most of these trading centers, they are essentially supermarkets of those goods produced in Kenya. To have centers around consumption and many of products you don't produce is sometimes unavoidable, but it's not the most desirable situation. Mr. Baguma, the stronger is the one who generates markets and protects them. But that was initially under protectionism. Now you use different concepts. Sometimes you even allow in markets, you even allow in goods from foreign countries, but you negotiate. Like the way President Bush went to negotiate in Japan, and I think, what do you use? Through up. I'm not going to use the other one. Through up, when he had gone to negotiate with Japan to buy vehicles also manufactured from America. So you can negotiate markets, but the most lucrative thing that you would need to protect is the market. Now, Uganda
has negotiated AGOA.
Now, when you are discussing very serious things, then you don't bring those tragedies of Museveni. Now, Museveni, where we are now, because Mr. Museveni has dominated Uganda for close to half the period we have been...
More than half.
Yeah. The period
we had 53, he's done 30.
More than half for a period we have been sovereign. And in my view, the entire Museveni era is a tragedy, is a Museveni tragedy. Uganda had taken... Because even when you look at him...
Just depends on who you're listening to. I've been looking at data, and even today, and the data you have is Ugandans.
And you see a part of the tragedy because you haven't even listened.
Ugandans at some point were living below $1 by about 0.47 of $1. Today, largely most Ugandans live above $1.
The others are not even living. If we are talking about living at 3,000 shillings,
the statistics of the dead.
There are many, very many. But it is you who said yesterday, who have just told me that you visited the Cancer Institute, and you ceased to exist. You are overwhelmed. That you have now ordered it's going to be a point of discussion next week when you don't even have material.
I'm glad he has come to my side.
Yes, you see, so we have a problem of the Museveni tragedy. As Mr. Purkor said, he went to school. They went to school. They have traveled the world over. They took my friend Bagoba Richard to New York.
I have been going to New York
to visit
since
shops,
1998, Charles
visit-
Rumshana,
to
because
visit shops,
me and you, we
It's a
started
Museveni
the
era
United
anyway.
Nations
It's a
Association
Museveni
of
era,
Uganda.
sorry.
to visit shops.
Because the things we have done
But-
done them together. I do not want you to come and not tell the truth.
Is that a coup?
No, that I want him to tell the
You're
truth.
doing another coup.
About me and him. We started this
I'm
together.
very sure I'm going to pass through a hotel. So I must be very disciplined.
Yes,
And
you
you
must
ate
tell
a good meal.
because
when you
we
examine-
shouldn't tell certain things.
when
Those
you
are for our
examine-
things.
When you examine Mr. Museveni and around him, he tells you, my child cannot give birth in Marago Hospital. That's a fact. And she had to be shifted to Germany to do so. But even around him, do we have material that now can handle him here? Machines, equipment. Not that we can't buy the equipment, but we don't have the personnel. But the same
Don't we?
Oh yes.
We are exporting
There
a
are,
lot
there
of
are
medical
good
personnel.
machines. Because you see, he doesn't want secrets around him to leak to the enemy, which is good. If you visited most countries, their military hospitals are their best. If you go to Israel, if you go to even in Nigeria here, military hospitals are some of their best. So we should be having a military hospital here take care of the president and the assets of the state, because those ministers and heads of intelligence, security things are assets of the state. But do we have a military hospital to speak of? We don't. But we produce manpower. And by
But
now,
we are building a lot more hospitals. I've seen Chirudubuziga, I've seen Kawempe, I've seen our construction in Masaka. I've seen-
hospitals go beyond buildings. I'm not even suggesting that we don't have doctors. The personnel we have very good consultants around. But if now you were to procure a machine that would sort him out, you don't have people to operate it. But the same Mr. President, Mr. Museveni, has pilots for modern jets. He can produce pilots for modern jets. He can produce gunners for modern artilleries. He can produce pilots for modern helicopter attack gunships. Who knows, tomorrow he'll be procuring a ship if he has where he can rent in the Indian Ocean to do what Russia did the other day against ISIL. But he cannot spend money to produce a technician of modern machine that would handle him and handle the rest of Ugandans. So simple ailments we have to fly abroad. So the problem, as he says, has been ideological disorientation. But in his case, it is outright malice. Because you see, they know what is good. They even want that is good. They know the value of education. They don't. That's why they take their children to international schools, Ituli, etc. But they have run down our own schools. The Butoberes, the Gez High School, Mbarara High School, those Makobere High School, Chitung, those good schools. Go to the east, go to the north, are run
Well,
down.
but where they were, there are other good schools that have developed, grown out of that.
But
The
most of
age
them-
of the old national school
most
is
of
not
them-
there, but you have very good private schools
must
in
the
this
other
country.
ones collapse?
Well,
You
if
mean
they
we
have
didn't have
collapsed.
space to so now when you say
It is because the youths have moved your children. You're taking them to the private
there
industry.
must be a reason why people are running out from public schools to private schools. There must be a reason, because you don't have investment in the public schools. So if you say independence, we are dependent on who? Were we dependent on anybody? And if we are dependent on anybody, on whom were we dependent before we became independent? Now, why was there agitation for independence? There was agitation for independence because the British, under Imperial British East African Company, ETC, were exploitative economically.
Led by a captain.
Yeah, they were. I could even have been a corporal. They were
The captain.
They were
even a
exploitative.
brigadier.
Now, because they were
Look
exploitative,
at-
there was an uprising against them. So where are we now? We fought against exploitation of the British. Now we are exploited and dominated by the coolies. You know, they came with the people. called the coolies, who were supposed to help them in the construction of the Uganda Railway. Those who were eaten by the man-eaters at Savo. You know those lions, if you have read that history. Now, it is the grandchildren of the coolies who now dominate us. And they are in the destruction mode. Talk of the best soils where we are doing research for our varieties, they destroy.
Namalere.
If you are talking about land that you should be reserving to expand Manago Hospital and or accommodate staffs who are supposed to be on call, they destroy.
CMI land.
Yes. So now the assets that our forefathers bequeathed us, because that was their vision, that put up Sheraton Hotel for the future generation, preserve national parks for future generation, preserve swamps for future generation, forests to mention but a few. These ones destroy them. All corporations were eaten. Cooperatives and the assets were eaten. But you don't see anything that they produce. You see, there has been that talk that at least if you had corruption and you had outputs out of corruption, you steal from the consolidated fund and you put up a factory to employ people. They even don't do that. They are like Karoli made of stock, which swallows metals, which swallows sticks, which swallows meat, and defecates chalk. So the only thing you see is chalk on their legs, and very very trivial things. So that's basically the problem. Them seven tragedy, and because he knows he can no longer be loved by the population out of his output, i.e. the services, out of his output, creating jobs out of his output, making people happy. He now must invest in the military, in the means of violence to subdue the population. And that's basically where we are. And by the way, it has also overwhelmed him. When he's moving, he's complaining, people ask him money. Yes, they ask you money for two reasons. One, that they are conscious, instinctively, they are being cynical. You've destroyed us, we are very poor, and we know in any case those taxes you collect from us are not to develop us. Therefore, let's share the literature that you have. So that's basically the problem. We would have taken off. By now would be high altitude, flying high altitude, but the problem is that we have had the Museveni tragedy.
But Museveni is 30 years of 53.
Yeah, but we are because of the other balance. That's the difference. Actually, that our forefathers in Obote,
over those 30 years, you've increased literacy rates to amazing levels in this country. You've increased, you've reduced infant mortality to admirable levels. We've dealt with primary health care.
Let's go to literacy rates. My forefathers came to Uganda, for instance, and learned agriculture, learned mulching, learned modern methods of farming. In Chigeze.
You are the people, my people are not rich. You are the reason they are not rich. All of you went away and we don't have
they learned from Buganda modern methods of farming, but they didn't know how to write the word mulching. So which one would you prefer? To learn how to write the word mulching or to do mulching practically? So yes, my father did not know how to write the word mulching, but learned how to do mulching practically. That's why we planted the species we got, the varieties of matoke, etc. we got from
Mbwazirume.
Mbwazirume, whatever it is. But you have Naja na Nkumbi. Who came with the Nkumbi? Certainly it was not Mganda, it's Mchiga. Who came with the Nkumbi? So the Karamajong knew how to look after their cows, and so we are developing. The pace was good. If it was not for the malice out of the Museveni tragedy, we would be very far. So they have done their best to destroy the foundation that our forefathers left, or that they left a very strong foundation.
Richard?
Yeah, you know that the balance of Idi Amin is the one that is driving us. The Idi Amin did so well, did a very wonderful job, that he left the foundation on which we are moving. But you are going to ask me something.
Actually, Richard, even when you engage that, I have engaged that. I was a radical anti.
Do I know anything real?
But that's what you're exposing, that you don't know.
Yeah, I must be the most stupid, the most unknowledgeable,
by the way,
the most unclever. Do I know anything, Charles?
I'm that charitable.
Do I know anything? You are charitable to me, that I am the most unclever that I am the most.
I'm not going to exchange words.
You are being charitable
Richard
to me.
and
Amin and
Richard
Yes.
and Charles.
Yeah.
Charles, hold
Because-
your peace.
Because I said
Yes,
that
but Richard,
Amin
Richard,
was among the
I
gifts of
will
this
even
country.
engage. I will even engage that. I've been one of those anti-Aminists, as it were. But I recently engaged with a friend of mine that does a bit of economics and said that actually the turning point of the African economy in Uganda is that mad, quote-unquote, action of Idi Amin when he ejected the Asians out of the Ugandan economy. It was mad. It wasn't the planned one because what was planned was different from what he did. It had
Again,
been
he
planned-
dreamt in Moroto.
It had been planned by
He's-
Obote.
He saw Africans prospering.
Amin developed small scale industries, and that's why we survived the economic depression.
Richard, I'm coming to you. Even that we will discuss because the
Back to
entry of the
Karamoja.
African into business is courtesy of Amin. Ugly, shabby, but Amin ushered the
Now, why do you put those
Ugandan-
words? Is it out of malice?
It was.
That the guy brought a good thing, aggression.
No. He got big ideas from
why are you
Moroto in a
intimidated?
No,
dream.
the truth is,
That's
he
the
did
problem,
it in a
African
shabby
elites.
way. He did it in a shabby way. He
And
could
how
have
about
done
these
better.
ones who are eating in the royal
Now,
life?
now,
But Richard, I am getting to this economy that Richard thinks ultimately it's at a takeoff stage, like President Museveni says. But of course, when I listen to President Museveni every day, he seems to say we would have taken off, but this, but the other, but the other, and some of the buts that he refers to seem to be as old as Uganda. And I'm thinking he's had 30 years of Uganda. For all the dictators, and I want to say this, for all the economies that broke through in the last 50 years, they needed an authoritarian hand, which Uganda has had, and really the measurable time was between 25 and 30 years for them to take off and become either first world or middle income. Why hasn't Uganda, with a stable anchoring hand,
Authoritarian hand.
a stable authoritarian anchoring hand
I was
of
just speaking
General
even visionary.
of General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, not done the Suharto, not done the Mahathir Muhammad, because all of them were authoritarian. Mbaraka was authoritarian, but he got Egypt across the river. Uganda's authoritarian chief has only taken us in the deep.
He says it's like Karoli.
No, forget about the Karoli.
It's like, it's not a Karoli, but it's like. Okay, let me come. Let me come on.
No, no.
Hold, David.
Is it okay to disagree
Of course.
with you?
Why else are you here? If you agree with me, I would be here alone and say it.
Because you see, I think we peddle a lot of untruths, but they are easier to peddle, and they are sometimes okay and populist to peddle. One, that we have been through the most authoritarian of times during this period.
You are adding most.
Yeah. Yeah, because you see, you came and when you are introducing, you said, like Baguma seems to say, we have taken off. I mean, really. And that's why I keep saying, why spice these untruths around these introductory remarks? What is our agenda after 53 years? And therefore, to say that
sustaining,
Yeah.
integrated
to say that
economy.
that we were
Right now we are supposed to be delivered to a middle economy.
Yeah,
as
to
it
say
were.
that at the time the 30 years began, we were at our best, and now we are at our worst. I think that also needs to be interrogated. I think so. That's why it is easy to say that.
At our best, no, we couldn't have been.
Yeah, but the consensus seemed to be that we were moving towards takeoff until we started the current 30 years. That Amin did very well. He took an action in 1972, and that action really did us very well that by 1979, we were at our best. That in 1985...
You are not indebted?
But that's not true. The central bank records don't say that. That,
Yes, we were
that in 1985, we were not a heavily indebted country. Really? I mean, so I think some of the things that we put across as facts what can I use? They are untruths, they are also unfair, particularly unfair to our viewers. Some things have happened. Some things have not happened. And no one is denying or says they have not happened. But I think it's also useful to say that there are things that have happened where that the economy of this country, and the continent, by the way, because if you look at all the big investments, you are talking about multinational companies. They are courting this continent, and they are not stupid, and they are not silly, because this is the time for this continent, African continent. We can diss the African continent. We can say it is the worst. But when you look at the direction, all the big investment opportunities, they are directing them at the 1 billion Africans. They directed them at Asia. They are directing them now. And this attempt to divorce the international formations and international ramifications from a national economy of 30 million people, I think is also not very fair. Certainly, this economy has more infrastructure than it used to have. It has more people. One of the things that all the economists in this country, and outside internationally, by the way, they keep telling us about, is this rapid growth of the population. Populations generally don't grow if there are not circumstances that make them grow. And this is one of the things that has been raised, that we are producing many more people than we can support. However, it is also being examined that there is what they call the window of opportunity, that this can also be taken. And when you look at everyone, the World Bank, the IMF, the US agencies, all, they say, watch your population. Watch the growth of your population. Probably what? The second fastest in the world? How do we then
Actually,
move?
we are towards the fastest.
Yeah, we are now towards beating everybody. How do we move all these other things to also get there? That infrastructure, even taking this city, has not grown, has not expanded. I think really there has been growth, there has been expansion. It might not be as fast as some people like it, but that's not the truth. That investment in some social services, I mean, has not grown, I also think. But for me,
that it has grown, and I would like it to be palpable in the pockets of the mortal Ugandans, not the Bagumas.
Yeah, and that's true. But also, if you say the Bagumas who sit here, the people seated here, me and you.
Minus me.
No, but you see, when you are putting up a structure that is of a certain size and of a certain status, I mean, you are part of a certain group. And to say that you should be divorced from Ugandans, I think that's also not fair. You are part of these Ugandans.
From those in whose pockets the economy is palpable.
Now,
So you should keep me out of
no.
so you keep me out of the sites. So we also need to recognize that some of these things have happened,
I think,
and really give them, however unhappy we may be with whoever is in charge, that we also need to recognize that some of these things have happened and they are there. One of the things that we risk doing is to undermine those and take us back to some of the darker days.
I'll take a break, and when I come back from the break, I'll take David Pulkol. I'll talk to a few callers as well.